Okay, post commentary today. Had a doing yard work. Had to do some post commentary. It's just kind of what I was feeling anyway, but it all happened to work out. I'm feeling like setting up a plains farm. Well, you'll see what happens. This is terror from the future, so I know what happened. But I gotta say, some things about I Am Setsuna that I got wrong. You can change the voice. It's just in the sound setting. You literally just drop the voice down into 0, and voila, it's not really annoying anymore, which is fantastic. But that's amazing. A game changer. And also, there is a... I don't want to say... I'll say it this one time. There is a support sprint night, which really just means... It translates to passive ability in gamer speak, okay? And it is called Faded Memory. And I have to find these rare creatures that I can find in some woods. And I have to kill them in a specific way that involves debuffing them in the process. And then, when you do that, you get a guaranteed drop. And that is part of what I need for the last material to get the passive ability called Faded Memory. And that, as soon as I use a momentum ability, and this is guaranteed unlike the flux, as soon as I use a momentum ability, or just use momentum, go into momentum mode it says, but really it's just using a momentum, that makes much more sense. You do that, your ATB gauge automatically fills up. Which, all the grinding that I've been doing for getting the flux boost for ATB boost, oh boy, all of that is kind of useless if I get 3 copies of Faded Memory. And, yeah. It's kind of painful. Like, a lot of the stuff, like, combo power, like, flux stuff, well, that's good. But, ATB boost is no longer, like, all that sauce. All the other bonuses are much better, but Faded Memory, and just what so far, just what a goated passive ability. It's absolutely ridiculous how good that is in concept. It's like, you use a tiny resource and you get to just go again immediately. That's incredible. That's so amazing. Oh my god. So I'm looking very forward to that. I gotta hunt down these guys, but because parts of my grind have been a little invalidated, it's like kind of soul crushing. So here I am back with Valheim. Haven't played I Am Setsuna in a couple days now. Yeah, I will hunt down those guys, but I can definitely afford to skip out on a lot of the story because it's pretty thin and just basically just watered down Final Fantasy X so far. But good time. And it's definitely one of those with enough depth where I'm just having a fantastic time, and I know I'll have a fantastic time for hundreds of hours. So there'll probably be a video on that, dedicated I Am Setsuna videos in the future. I have expanded upon my build decor. Look at how beautiful this area is, by the way. Fucking gorgeous. Oh man. It's a beautiful plains area. Like, I was thinking about how to see if I can get some barley, but man, this area in the plains is absolutely beautiful. It's this little grove with all of the aquatic areas, the difference in elevation. It's such a shame, like, to me at least, the difference in elevation and the verticality that can be within certain biomes sometimes, especially when they're close by, like relative distance, coastline and mountain. You can get really cool elevation differences within biomes like meadows, black forest, whatnot. Plains, of course, here. Yoink, yoink, yoink. Gotta make use of those jumps. The jumps will save you a lot of the time. Perfect little music for this adventure. But yeah, just run back into the swamp. And, but yeah, I was going to say in I Am Setsuna, I've expanded my build core of Nidir and Eterna, which is basically like, here's a Diamond Rogue, which is fucking amazing already, and here is a tank guy, which can, you know, like both of these characters with their regular, like, you know, one of their active abilities, you know, fucking command sprint knights as they're called. You can get debuffs, you can get control on the targets, which is incredible. And then you use motivation or whatever, momentum mode for the control ability for Nidir, called Blunt Blow. And you can heal your whole party with it. Fucking absurdly good. And he's super tanky at that. So he's got these tanky strats with control and damage and a little bit of healing, which is ridiculously good. And Eterna is just able to buff, debuff. You know, she can slap haste on everybody, slow on the enemy, protect on Nidir, which is amazing. And then she has Dream Shatterer, which is an AoE melee attack, which can put, you guessed it, control on the enemy. Like, it's absurd. It's so good. And yeah, that build core, I assume it's only going to get better and better and better. However, I believe I mentioned Kier in the past episode, and he is just sort of standard black mage now, and he still is, but we went from a Final Fantasy XIV type depth to a standard Final Fantasy black mage type depth. And let me describe that to you. The new abilities that I was able to get, I was able to upgrade the fire spell to Magma, which is absolutely ridiculous AoE blast spell. So that's fantastic. Bio is still Bio, you know, that's going to be good because it's yet another move that I can farm those rare forest enemies, these owl type creatures, for the material that I need for Faded Memory. So another thing for debuff kill, that's nice. The debuff by itself isn't very good compared to the control. It's just a DOT, you know, poison on bio. What else is new? But I got Dispel, which does like a small AoE damage for some reason, in addition to also removing buffs from enemies and bosses, which ridiculously good utility. And also there's Osmos Drain. Like, him getting Osmos Drain bio this early, that's the Oak Staff abilities from Final Fantasy IX. Clearly, the devs had a little bit of influence from 9, which is my favorite game ever. So, super happy about that. Just the utility of having Drain, which is healing, and if you use a momentum mode on that, then it'll heal the whole party some more. That's amazing. So again, don't need Setsuna as a healer. Don't need Endir's aura ability for party healing. I have 2 characters that can do party healing. It's incredible. And then there's also just the fact that, like, the other 2 core party members were so good already that this is just icing on the cake by default. And we already just have, like, a blast spell. We have a healing that deals a little bit of damage. We have utility that does a little bit of damage in an AoE, which is ridiculous. And then we have Osmos, which can just keep things going. Like, you just drain the MP off of, like, enemies and bosses to just keep on going. Just go smooth. That's ridiculous. That's so good. Especially when you're an icing on the cake character. That's so ridiculously nice. Oh my god. Just continually being able to do things. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna drain your MP. I'm just gonna take it. It's mine. I'm gonna mess around. A little bit of a cut there because something yard work. But anyway, that's about it for the I Am Setsuna talk. I'm just very excited to see where this goes. I have to look at my flexibilities a little differently now because the ATB boost isn't going to be. It's not going to be good at all anymore. So I can focus on other things, which means I need to look at the talismans and it's like it opens up a new window, which is interesting. But the grind attached to that, it's going to be interesting. Definitely not a mistake I'm going to make on my second playthrough. That's for sure. But today's topic, other than a little bit of I Am Setsuna, is going to be something weird that I've been seeing in the Elden Ring community, which is sort of a backlash to people suggesting, whether toxically or just regularly suggesting, to use certain types of restrictions. And a lot of people will just come back with, oh, it's in the game, bro. Which, this might seem a little patronizing, but I will explain to you now why that's a load of horseshit. Because people were saying that earlier, when there was a lot of bug stuff. There's probably still a lot of bugged, overpowered stuff. There's a lot of overpowered stuff in there by default because of the spirit summoning system, which I'll get into later. But, whoa. I mean, things can be broken in games and basically lead to what is most often a worse experience for the vast majority of people playing the game, should they use the broken shit. This is such a common experience with games that it's like you'd have to not understand that games have bugs. Game developers are human. They can make mistakes with patches. They can fix them. And it is basically a non-gamer take to say, well, it's in the game. Well, it's in the game. Okay, yeah, my fucking nuts are in the game. How about that? Like, holy shit. Like, what a self-report. Like, you haven't fucking played any fucking game ever. Jesus Christ. Don't try to jump into this community if you haven't played any game ever. Alright? Holy shit. That's so fucking weird to say. This is a big mistake, by the way, in game. What am I doing fighting growths with this? I almost died. Probably should have died. Look at me, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna walk away. No, I should spam roll. What am I doing? Holy shit. So bad. Anyway, random fallings that I aggroed earlier kind of came to my rescue, but anyway, I did it. I didn't, kill him, but that's fine. I don't need to. Well, I don't need to, but I do end up taking a little bit of revenge. It is what it is. But yeah, I think most of the people not immediately flaming somebody who says, oh, it's in the game, something so absolutely ridiculous and indicative of a non-gamer just chatting shit like they know what's going on. I think the fact that the majority of the Souls community aren't going after people who say such ridiculous things on the regular and just like aren't laying into them constantly is proof of the actual vast proportion of very, very cordial and decent people within that community. Okay? The fact that people say such obvious bullshit like, oh well, it's in the game, therefore it must be like the most balanced, like something perfectly balanced, and the devs can do nothing wrong and everything's perfectly fine. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? The fact that people can say shit like that and essentially quote unquote get away with it and not get absolutely dogpiled on the regular in this Souls community proves, I think beyond a doubt, that that community is much more cordial than we give them credit. Much, much more cordial. Holy shit. Because you go into any like relatively experienced community in like a PvP setting, and you try to say shit like that when something's obviously bugged or fucked up, balance-wise. Oh my god. Oh, you're gonna get checked real fucking fast. But it's not the case. Not the case in the Souls community. Not the case at all. But, yeah. What's especially interesting is people were really salty about two specific things, like Ash of War called Rolling Sparks and a spell called Impenetrable Thorns. People were upset, and I actually saw some negative reviews for Shadow of the Erdtree because the devs nerfed those things. And I'm so confused. Like, what do you... This is... Oh, by the way, weird fallings, man. It boggles the mind having this game be out for this long. People just not understand the power gap. But then again, you look at things like Tish and the Mimic Tier, and it's like, oh, well, if they've been using that, and if you look at very specific sorceries and incantations, very specific ones that have one-shot potential, and I say, okay, well, you know what, I can kind of understand where these people are coming from. Especially if you look at unique buff stacking, the way that you can just one-shot everything in the game at a reasonable, like, 150 build, or in most cases, even at level 1. And you gotta say to yourself, I kinda understand why people thought that these weren't bugged and overpowered. Because very, very OP stuff still exists in the game that you can pull off at a very low skill threshold that can just dominate the fucking game and give you little to no actual interaction with the bosses. The bosses which have been heralded by the general Souls community as the big part of the Souls experience. And this part of the Souls experience, of course, if they're attached to the Souls games have a reputation of them being difficult. And so if we're going to trivialize them even beneath, like, some Diablo fodder boss, turn all the bosses into Soldier of Godric on what would be a reasonable build and not very much interaction and skill level, I think it is abundantly clear that that shit is too strong, and maybe we shouldn't be using it if we want to get what might be a Miyazaki intended experience at the very least. Now, Miyazaki did say in an interview that he does use summons recently, but that's because he hasn't been playing this game until recently. Miyazaki has not been on that grind time for 2 years, where he hasn't put in 1,000 hours like I have, okay? He hasn't gone through, played with summons, and then with less powerful summons, and then with no summons but really strong gear, and then with balanced stuff to see how much fun he truly has with each of these variety of restrictions, or no restrictions. He hasn't done that. A, he hasn't had the time to do that because he's the president of fucking From Software. But B, he said, like, the last interview about playing Elden Ring, up until the point where the most recent interview where he said, oh, yeah, use summons, that, the fucking state of him playing the game, up until that very recent point, was non-existent. Like, he literally admitted that he does not play Elden Ring up until that point. He didn't play it. Okay? So Miyazaki coming out and saying, yeah, I'm using summons, this shouldn't be some grand endorsement of like, well, that is how everybody should play, clearly. No. He hasn't had the time to experiment with any of it yet. He hasn't done it until now. And so this is a first time playing with that stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if on subsequent runs he didn't use summons, because they're a mess. I wouldn't be shocked at all. Now what's interesting is most of the summons got buffed up in patch 1.13. Holy shit. And this is just a balance nightmare until you realize that Mimic Tier didn't get buffed up, which is fair. And then you look at the balancing of Mimic Tier compared to the other summons and you think, oh my god, all those buffs to the summons, who cares? What does that actually do? Just gonna use Mimic Tier anyway. And so, what's especially strange is that some people might point to now the 1.13 patch summon buff and they'll say, look, they buffed summons. That means it's an end. Nope, sorry. Mimic Tier still shits on all of them. And they had to nerf Mimic Tier several times. And it's still too strong because of the tankiness and the versatility. I said this before, but I'm gonna say it again, okay? If people think that they're getting a standard, difficult, yet understandably fair Elden Ring experience with something like a fucking Mimic Tier at their side, that is a huge self-report on skill level. Sadly, no Yagluth Vegravir here, sadly. Beautiful spot, by the way, though. This whole plains area is just gorgeous. But yeah, it's a giant self-report. Like, oh my god, a summon at that level of tankiness and offensive capability as well, and pure versatility, holy shit. Like, I've been through the DLC with all of my, 4 layers of restrictions. I cannot imagine going through undoing any of those restrictions and saying, oh yes, I've had a stimulating and challenging experience. No, I'd have to be fucking garbage. I'm sorry. I'm fucking saying it. You best fucking believe it. And if you're confused about any of the strategy via build making or execution when fighting a boss, I'll be happy to help. I'll be fucking happy to explain how things are going. Even though I'm not by any means some super expert worth putting out proper guides like I do with Valheim, I still do well enough to put all of these restrictions on myself and have a great time. And I still put good enough time and care into making the builds where I can still strive to dominate, in a sense, slightly elevated above the old Dark Souls 3 ability relative to the enemies / bosses in that game. Of course, because on average, the bosses and enemies in Elden Ring are going to be tougher. But, of course, the gear and stuff, even with the 4 layers of restrictions, are going to be even better than Dark Souls 3 by a good margin. Now, with that out of the way, we've gotten a couple of self-reports out of the way. One of them just complete and utter non-gamer nonsense. The other one, just completely not understanding the lack of depth of their own skill, not understanding the balance of summons just on their face. Being able to split aggro in this game is absurd. Being able to use strategies that involve like infinite of specific consumables on the Mimic tier, basically unlimited Ashes of War, spellcasting, even though the Mimic tier AI got changed like a year and a half ago, it's still so strong. It is ridiculously strong. And to a point where it is just beyond overpowered. Like, I don't want to hear it. I really don't. It's way too strong. And pretty much every summon except for the Soul Jars of Fortune are too strong as well. And then there are summons that are far too weak, like the Wandering Nobles and the Wandering Noble. And stuff like that, which I wouldn't even consider using even if I was summoning. But the Soul Jars of Fortune get rid of themselves. They take themselves out of the equation, and that's what makes them nice, because you can get a lot from it, because they are taking aggro, they are taking themselves out of the equation in an AoE explosion. You kind of have to work for it, so there's some skill involved, because they're a little bit slow, and bosses can just take them out even before they're able to do anything. So you have to work for it, you get a reward, you get a bonus reward because they took aggro, and it's just a great little, basically like a little spell that you can cast, that you can get absurd damage from. I'd say it's a fairly balanced spell too, just if I considered it a spell, which I'm talking about it as. And so it would be, I think, pretty ridiculous for people to say, well, you know, you're summoning though. It's like, no, you gotta look at the actual balance of things. Is the specific thing balanced? Now, because it doesn't really scale, I'm not going to use Soul Jars of Fortune. Yeah, it's, you know, you can upgrade them and that's fine, but yeah, I'm not going to use them just because there's better stuff that I could be spending the mana on, and I'm just gonna work with that instead. Now, there are other things where I can understand a lot of people who might be frustrated that they just want to use a good build, truly just fuck around, and I get that because I had my fun with it too. You don't have to give a shit about whatever the quote-unquote proper experience is in a game, okay? You really don't. I just recommend trying it at least once to understand it, so that you can engage better in the community, so that the developers have a better time when they're interacting with said community. All of these things together make for a very, very good constructive conversation that people can have. Being productive is key when talking to a gaming community, and if you don't even know what's going on, or you're just totally unaware of certain strategies and the general balance of the game, you're gonna look like somebody who's never played any game before, just like people saying, oh, well, it's in the game. Oh, well, you know, it's in the game, so, you know, games and game devs can't do anything wrong. If it's in the game, it's fine. Fucking ridiculous statement. It's like, okay, bot, empty internet theory, person who has never played a game in their life. It's like, holy shit. But, yeah. It's important to have productive conversations, and if you don't even know you're saying something that is just so antithetical to gaming, the gaming experience as a whole, yeah, it's not a good thing for productive conversations. Let's just say. And again, I'm just so in awe that people will say so many arbitrarily bad things about Souls community, when I look at the shit that some people are saying, like, in the defense of these weird balance changes and balance in some of these games, in some of these Souls games, especially Elden Ring and the DLC, and I'm so confused, because I see it as people, again, just going out of their way to be super cordial and not engage. It's like, okay, I'm just not gonna touch that one with a 10-foot pole. Clearly this person doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. I'm just gonna let it go. Cool. We should have more of that. That's cool. I like that. It's definitely good, because there's a lot of people, a lot of channels, a lot of bots, a lot of this, that. They love to just rage farm. They love to get your stress up. They love to say the most absurd things to get clicks, to get comments. And so people will pay for commenters to say this type of bullshit. They will pay for somebody to just make macros, make bots that just say this type of shit on the regular. You gotta ask yourself, do I know this motherfucker saying this bullshit on the internet? No. Do they have a big reputation? Like a YouTube channel or something where you can actually see them talking about past things? Does this make sense within what they've said in the past? Do they have that? Oftentimes, no. Just some random commenter. This potentially could not even be a real person. Not only that, if it is a real person, it also couldn't, it's very likely not even their legitimate opinion. And then, even then, if there is unreasonable smoke, there's probably some unreasonable fire too. Do not be afraid to not engage with some weird people. It's okay. If they're saying nonsense, let them say some nonsense. Just go on. Keep doing what you want to do. Be cool. And that's what I think most of the FromSoft community is actually doing in these cases. In which case, they're doing the smart thing. They're doing the less toxic thing. And I think they should get some major props for that. Totally fair. Totally good. It's really interesting, though, to see how what seems like after this DLC came out, most of the toxicity in and around that community is from the positive side. It's from people who are generally just trying to say good things about it. Not really the get-gooders as much, although there is definitely people who are arbitrarily defending problems in the DLC who are get-gooders. And there's a big conflict between the get-gooders as in get good skill and the get-gooders as in get good builds. Because clearly there's a big divide, there's a big conflict there, and they just don't see it yet. And so if we just take all of what would be essentially just shills, right? People who won't just take the time and say, I had a great time with the DLC, like I did. But there are some flaws, there's some things going on, there's some problems, some hitbox issues, some of which they addressed in 1.13, which is great. If we can't take the time to be honest with the game that we love, that we put so much time into, and we're just gonna say knowledge issue or skill issue or whatever bullshit, like, oh, it's in the game, use all the tools at your disposal, it's in the game, bro. Just bullshit like that. What's gonna be left? If people don't want to interact with weirdos like that, which I respect in the Souls community, people are just going to be more inclined to not interact much at all. And the communities are just going to die out into people who are going to be at each other's throats because they have a fundamental disagreement with how you should be getting good. And I see that, and I don't want it to happen. I don't want the community to just die down to just them. But I think it would be funny to let them fight. I think that would be funny. Yeah, they can stick with some whatever E-list side game in 10 years if FromSoft keeps going down this course and listening to them as a priority instead of others. And they can argue about the unbalanced mess there. It's like, no, you should get good versus the unbalanced and broken hitboxes and messy animations via skill. No, you should use a one-shot build and not even interact with them at all. Curses, they're going to scrap. I don't know. Cool. But anyway, it's funny, man. It's funny. Some people are just weird. Some people are just weird. And, there was that last 30-day review on Steam. Well, we've went back into the mixed territory. We're currently at 66%. It could have gone down to 65%. You know, because I only checked last time this morning. It's still at 71% overall, which it hasn't changed that way in, I think, around 10,000 reviews. And we only have like 70,000 reviews. There's like 76,000 reviews right now. So, the last 30 days are going to drop down to 50%. About Shadow of the Erdtree, it's gonna drop down to 50%. Holy shit. 50 fucking percent. Woo! But, yeah. Oh man, remember everybody freaking out about how the game had 63%? Remember them? They're not around. What happened? It's because they're not really part of the community. They're not. Again, people that are just gonna go around, play for like a week or two, and then disappear before the first major patch even comes out. Guys, they're not experiencing literally the same game that we're experiencing. Their opinion is quite literally, functionally outdated. But for them to bitch and moan about 63% mixed, guys, that was when there was some bias added. There's still bias towards the game, in favor of it. How do you see reviews with less bias? Well, you ignore the recency bias, or the honeymoon phase. People, as soon as the game comes out, tend to just love bomb it, even with all of its flaws, because they're having a great time at the moment. So people are going to look at that last 30 days, which is going to be fucking 50%, guys. Which, I checked the other DLCs, last 30 days. The worst rated one is Ashes of Ariandel at 54%. Which means Shadow of the Erdtree is going to drop down even lower to be their worst ever rated thing. In the Souls series, that is. And so, I look at that, and I'm not preying on their demise, because I've spent over 1,200 hours playing Elden Ring, and I love it very much. I've put so many hours into Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, and I've done a couple of runs in Sekiro. Okay? I've had a fun time, you could say. And I wish to have future good fun times in the future. I just said future twice. But we gotta take a real good look at the state of balancing in this game. On the player end, on the boss end. If you're actually using restrictions, you gotta take a look at it from the boss end. You know, they made hitbox changes to these bosses in 1.13 for a damn good reason. Again, beautiful plains area. Holy shit, look at the elevation and the aquatic area. Oh god, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I just want to take over that little plateau and build something cool. It's gorgeous. What do you... Shit, man. Fucking beautiful. But, okay. Back to the basic point. People who are going to arbitrarily defend bullshit in games, okay? Even when you think a game or IP or what have you can do no wrong, just remember, people were saying non-gamer bullshit in defense of Elden Ring, a game which sold like 25 million copies or some shit. A game that deserves to be fantastic. Actually, totally fantastic. A game that deserves to be as close to perfect as you can get, and yet isn't, because of balancing issues. And people have been saying all sorts of bullshit as if they weren't even gamers in the first place. And you'd think the vast support of them, the vast volume of people who enjoy it, surely it can't go wrong. And I want you to hold that 50% worst ever FromSoft Souls thing. I want you to hold that rating, okay? Hold it and understand that nothing is immune from going wrong, from going to the bad side of things, to being majorly fucked up in certain regards. Nothing is immune from this. I'm going to talk about a variety of things now. I saw plenty of manga go wrong, but the first one for me, the one that got me into the whole weeb scene, okay, Bleach, I've seen that go wrong, and it went wrong. It started going wrong a lot faster than what I had originally expected, a lot sooner than what I thought, once I actually analyzed it. Game of Thrones, same thing. Shit started going weird for the casual viewer in Season 7. And it really shit the bed in Season 8. Guess what? It was a fucking issue all the way back in Season 5. Holy shit. That's when they diverted away from the books. It's happening again in House of the Dragon. Oops. Shouldn't have trusted that. Anyway, Yu-Gi-Oh! I used to be big into that. Now that one should have been more obvious for me, because there was a garbage mechanic in a terrible format. I feel like every other year, it was really good, horrible, really good, horrible, really good, horrible. But after a certain point, I'm just going to say the year 2017, it's just all horrible. It's all garbage. Now people are really like, man, this is Yu-Gi-Oh's dying. It's like, yo, it's been dying for a long time. Okay, the symptoms happened way back. Way back, okay? And so these things, people thought they were too good to ever fuck up large enough, to ever fuck up to a point where the fan base are going to disregard it. And what the fuck do you think happened? Okay, there are major issues, and the fan base is disregarding it. And so this is a cautionary tale to anything long-term investment-wise, entertainment-wise, that's based off of some sort of narrative, where we can look at world building and plot structure that have relatively objective metrics to them, or obviously just straight up game design. Any of these things combined, and oh, by the way, fucking Hilder, any of these things, we have to be careful. We have to be careful. We can be cordial, but once we see the writing on the wall, we got to stay calm, relax, Don't get too invested anymore. Understand that there could be a big downfall waiting for any brand, any company, any whatever, any IP, anything. So we gotta be honest, and we gotta distance ourselves from people who say statements as if they're just not involved with it at all. Because especially now, more and more and more, people that seem like they're in the community, that have not only played the game, but are done with this, done with that, done with the DLC, they've done this, they have this amount of hours, maybe. And now they're not only done with playing for now, but they're done enough to maybe talk about it online with some confidence. If these types of people are saying things indicative to any person smart enough to showcase that, no, actually I haven't played a single fucking game in my life, well, that might not be a real person. And it's just going to be more and more common. Guys, it's just, there are people who want certain things to fail. And they're going to flood the area, whatever it is. Community with bad actors, with bots, trolls, you fucking name it. It's going to be there. Okay? And so, yes, people can just be super ignorant. Yes, there can be brain farts. But you have to ask yourself, do I know this person? Is this a real person having a brain fart? Do I care? Am I going to even interact with this person ever again? Does that matter? Look at the hogs going on. I've never seen two of them at once go up there. That's very funny. I'm glad that they like the base. It's very cute. But if the answer is no, then fuck them. You don't have to engage. And for a channel like me, somebody who's in charge of a little bit of community, if people are going to be like that and they're not going to continue to engage like regular human beings, they're going to be super unreasonable time and time and time, instance after instance after instance. Goodbye. Not in my community. You know? I think out of the... Oh man, it must be... I don't know how many comments I've had total on my videos. Maybe 1,000 or so. Probably more. Out of all those unique people, and there's going to be less than 1,000 of course, but I've only had to get rid of like 7. So again, y'all phenomenal. The ratio of cool guys out there to some strangeness, amazing. And guess what? I've never seen those 7 people on another Valheim creator's comment section. I've never seen it. Even when I go and look at like, once in a blue moon, I'll tune into like a Firespark video that somebody linked to me. I still don't see them. Not in a Kaisen comment section, nothing. I don't see any of those 7. It's like, it's possible that they could have also been removed or banned from their communities, from any and all of them, because they're fucking assholes, right? But it's also possible that they were not real people to fucking begin with. It's very possible. And that likelihood is just going up every day as we are getting further and further into this age of technology. Yes, technology. Well, I'm not gonna go on some fucking Ted Kaczynski anti-technology rant, because you're on technology, I'm on technology, you might be on technology that's different from the technology that you go and play Valheim or Elden Ring or what have you on right now. And I might be on this if you're leaving a comment and responding to it on different technology. Okay, I'm not anti-technology. It's required to do the shit that I love to do. I am pro understanding how to work around the bullshit that people can exploit technology to do. So, be sane and sensible out there, everybody. Understand, these motherfuckers sometimes ain't real. You know, like that one woman on the plane, like, that guy is not real. Yeah, for real. You know, she was in real life, so she was obviously tripping or some shit. Super drunk, what have you. But on the internet, with anonymity, yeah, these motherfuckers ain't real. They ain't real. So you don't have to give them the due time out of your day. You don't have to give them your rage. You don't have to give them your energy. You can move on and watch another video of mine. Yeah. Or no, I was going to say a Harmon Hook video, Craig Adams. Check those guys out, by the way. Holy fuck. If you want to see some serene goddamn hiking and drone shots and whatnot, Harmon Hook, holy shit. Harmon Hook and Craig Adams. I'm going to say it just right now. Harmenhoek. I believe he's Dutch, so it has that hook pronunciation. The OE is a hook, like Ronald Koeman, you know, that sort of deal. Amazing things to relax to. Most of the time, if I have like some sort of scare of throwing up or something, just got like a bad stomach ache deep in the AM, I'm gonna watch one of those two guys' video, Harmon Hook or Craig Adams. I'm gonna plop on like a several hour one, maybe some anti-nausea music or whatever the fuck, you know, I'll placebo my brain into working fine until whatever feeling passes over. But no, if you just want to relax or something's put you on edge or some bullshit that might not even be real online, and you just want to go back to engaging with the positives of whatever game community or what have you, there's a couple things that I recommend you do. One of them is, again, watch one of their videos. It's absolutely the most chill time ever, and I love it. But also, there's a really cool breathing strategy, which might just be total bro science and placebo again, but I want you to try it out, because it fucking works for me, that's for sure. It was definitely a YouTube-ass short, so don't pay this any scientific mind. I just want to say, this shit works for me. I'm going to give you my armchair idea of why I think it works. But, breathe in. And when you think you've breathed in a lot, breathe in a little bit more. And then exhale a lot. So, you think you've breathed in a lot, and then take another, what it's called a pip of breath in. A little bit. So you breathe in a lot. I'm already feeling it, dude. It feels fantastic. Basically chills me the fuck out. I just get super calm. I do this a lot on the road because people are fucking absolutely absurd drivers in my area. Scary drivers. Scary fucking drivers, okay? And the anxiety is real. And so I do that technique to just chill myself out. Sometimes I'll do it at work, because I work in retail, interacting with the public. Sometimes when there's some sort of weird shit online, too. And if I don't know if this is a real human being or whatnot, and it's just fucking weird shit, I'm gonna breathe like that. Do it like 3 or 4 times for good measure. My man put on a Harmon Hook video. Oh, you are having a great chill time. You're having a chill ass time. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right the fuck now. Okay? And so with that, we can keep our heads clear. We can keep ourselves interacting with only the best of the best. Keep our free time belonging to what should be something that benefits productive conversation, productive discussion with relatively smart ideas. People that are reasonable, going forward with good back and forth that can actually help any devs that might potentially be onlookers for the conversations, okay? And this might even only just make our games a little bit better in the future. Okay? With that being said, I hope you liked today's topic and little blurb about I Am Setsuna at the start too. It's been a great time. Elden Ring DLC, again, I just gotta say, it's super fun, but there are definitely some issues. And those issues, man, we can't just be making BS talking points to skirt around them. We gotta be honest with ourselves, give the proper feedback to the devs, and go forward so that they can be good actors and not just a standard company from a standard corporation that's bought out by a major corporation that's just going to try to squeeze us dry out of our money and not be passionate about their actual products. Okay? We want to be real and legit and productive so that we can get a good path forward for these games that we hold ourselves in such dear regard. I think we know about that, though. And especially in this community, I think that whole topic, you already just knew about. And so, I hope this video was entertaining, even if you guys already understood and were picking up what I was putting down before I even said it. But surely these plains adventures are satisfying in itself too. It's definitely some hyper aesthetic plains and a couple of hairy moments. Nice little hill define, nice little plains farm build up. I do like when I'm feeling a little rusty getting back into Valheim with the root set. If I have fire nearby, I love, putting myself in the water just so that I'm extra covered. Versus like fullings, whether it be a torch guy, which I've done in this episode, and a fulling shaman, again, also did in this episode. I took both of those guys out without even getting hit, and of course, ideally you would want to do that regardless, but we're all human, we all make mistakes. And especially if you're coming back from a game rusty, oh boy, having your bases covered, that's going to be key. But this is just an idea regarding the interesting balance of preparation and execution, and again, that heads right back into Elden Ring, because that game should be way more execution than it is at the moment, and patches will get you there. But only if they're good enough, and only if the community puts in the right feedback. Well, I'm going to cut this here. I'm just going to do some storage. I make a second fermenter, put that in the base, and put a medium stamina in there. It's whatever. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys some other time. Bye!